All right. Welcome back on the gravel, everyone. Sorry, we have a new camera setup, new setup for our show, and hopefully moving forward. So, yeah, there's Oliver.
How are we doing, y'all?
He's doing over there. I'm now over here with the window behind me. We're gonna get some blinds so it looks a little bit better. But yeah,
I'm actually across the country right now. You can't. I'm not even with Raven today.
Well, I mean, if they've watched the show before, they will know that your background used to be our background.
Yes.
And now I just swung my desk 90 degrees, and I have the window behind me now.
And hey, I don't have a boom mic, but
We're gonna get mic stands soon.
Hey, it's okay. I get to sit on a couch here today. I'm feeling comfy. I've got something supporting my back.
So if you guys see us like looking over away from the camera, that's where he is, and relative to me. And if you want to look at me, so they can.
Yeah.
So that's why if
Raven's
you see us like kind of looking off, that is why.
Mm-hmm.
But with this new setup, I have a monitor now, which you can see in this corner, which is very nice. So hopefully we are going to be increasing the overall production of these shows a lot.
This feels better already. I'm loving the change.
I love this. I have to keep doing a lot of things, but that's okay.
You don't have me in the way anymore, so
that is.
I think
true.
that's okay.
It's a win-win, but also a lose-lose.
We'll get there.
But first things first, we have the conclusion of the off week, getting ready for Imola next week after the exciting race that happened last week with Miami. Starting it off, let's just kind of go with the penalty breakdown. Since
we were having like a really big discussion, both Raven and I, and like just on the internet of penalty points, and especially because Kevin Magnussen was so aggressive this past week. People were thinking he was going to pick up enough penalty points in this one weekend to push him over the cusp of 12 to get his one race ban. But the FIA and the stewards ended up being a bit more lenient than we actually expected them to be. But he's right there.
He's very close, and that's something. What Andreas Seidel? That's his name for the McLaren team principal.
Oh, that's Stella. Andreas
Stella. He was very vocal about the fact, like, overall these should have been more. What's it called? More exponential in penalties instead of like them adding up.
He's overall. Continuously. He's doing it over and over and over again. I actually completely agree with him. I feel like they should kind of be building up more just to really reinforce the fact that this is something that he can't do every single weekend. Like, absolutely. If he can get away with, what he did, and spectator value was great, really fighting for those points for the team, but it's not something you can do every single week. Or I guess you literally have to wait a year for all these points to go away. So, a year worth of penalty points for that one weekend where they scored 2 points. I don't know if that's worth it to them. It's worth it to them, but yeah, he's going to have to be really careful for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that too kind of brings up the fact, like, if you go over the penalty, do you get your penalty points reset?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get your ban. They reset. The race ban using the penalty point system has never happened in the sport since it was inducted.
That's interesting.
And I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, the last one race ban was in 2012. Romain Grosjean got banned from the 2012 Italian GP because of his infamous collision with Lewis Hamilton that speared himself and Lewis over like Fernando Alonso, Kamui Kobayashi. At the Belgian GP, and then he was replaced by Jerome D'Ambrosio for a race. But that had nothing to do with penalty points. That wasn't a thing yet, but I'm pretty sure that's the last time there was an actual race ban in the sport. So about 10, 12 years ago.
I also just remembered that we can do the little window thing in the corner.
Yeah.
So you're on screen and I'm in the little window. So now I can see both of us. That's pretty nice.
I like that.
So I'll be leaving this up so I can just kind of not have to do it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
But going over like overall, just like I put on a breakdown of everyone's penalty points right now because I found it pretty interesting. Obviously, K-Mag has 10 with his shenanigans over this last weekend. Then something I found funny, Sergio Perez and Logan Sargent both have 8 That's the next two highest points there.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll is 7. That checks out. Fernando Alonso is 6. He's infamously getting those points.
He's infamously unlucky in getting those points as well.
And it's not fair for him. So.
Like, he got penalty points for his aggressive defensive Carlos Sainz at China, which I thought was a little bit BS.
Yeah, all of us did. Then you got both Mercedes drivers with 4 points, Yuki at 3, Max, Daniel, Zhao, Nico, and Bottas with 2, and then Carlos and Esti Besti with 1. And then you have Charles, who's perfect in every way and would never kill anyone, so he doesn't have any points. Shout out the drip.
Oh, yes. Waited 2 weeks for this to ship from Italy. When that beautiful Miami GP collection came out. That
red bag that came too.
It's so sick. Some of the best packaging I've ever seen in my life. Came in this really nice embossed red bag with a gold seal on it. I felt like I was a millionaire for 5 minutes. I mean, I should have been a millionaire to purchase this hat. $35 in shipping from Italy. My goodness. The
shirts were like $150.
Yeah, and with tax and shipping,
it was like $200.
Like, $200, $250. I couldn't, blow the bankroll on that.
I wish we looked at the racing shoes because they're like $600.
Yeah,
but how much would the shipping be?
Oh, I don't even want to know. It's probably a standard rate for shipping.
I would hope so.
Also, guys, my voice is finally back.
Yeah, that's a win.
I know that was very hard for some people to watch last week, but it's all back now. We're all good.
Anyways, something that came to light after last week that I thought was actually pretty interesting was the fact that Charles had no water from the formation lap onwards.
At a circuit like Miami, that is insane.
Where it's so hot. And I didn't hear anything about him doing it in the race,
No, he wasn't talking about it at all during the race. It only happened, or it only, came to light after, like, in a post-race interview or something where he was like, yeah, actually, I had no water. He did not have the drink.
No bev.
Kimmy, you will not have the drink.
No bev. That's crazy. I think overall, him just not complaining about it, too, is a massive win. Sorry, I'm fidgeting with the microphone because there's no good way to put this.
That's okay. But yeah, as you said, it's a massive win just in the sense that he kind of just locked in and went to down. Because if you think on it, while you're doing it, it's going to make it much worse than it actually is. So kind of putting it out of your mind, just focusing on the race, probably made that a little bit easier for him to deal with. But that's one of the number 1, number 2 circuits you don't want to not have water at.
Bahrain is definitely one.
Bahrain up there for sure. Qatar last year.
Well, the one time they did it in the daytime, it's like you saw Fernando Alonso and all these guys pouring water on themselves just to cool down for a second. Dude,
the most, infamous, we're going into a little history lesson here, but the most infamous circuit in the history of F1 when it comes to not having water and just heat was the race they did in Dallas in the 70s, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was the 80s. But you would have the drivers come into the pits and they'd take buckets of water and chuck it over the top of the drivers. You had one of the most infamous images in F1 where you had Nigel Mansell pushing his car to the finish line and then passing out just on the circuit. So, it wasn't as bad as that, but it's definitely just not something you want to deal with. It can get pretty bad. So hats off to Charles for being able to pull that off.
Absolutely. Moving on, we have Christian Horner revealing that Max did actually have some floor damage after his, little collision with the pylon. He said that damage overall costed them about quarter of a second per lap.
But I think what's important to say with this as well is Lando is still faster than him without the damage.
Yes.
The telemetry got released. Regardless of the tires and everything, Lando was still the quicker car the entire day. So I know a lot of people came to Max's defense and said, oh, on that safety car restart, if Max didn't have that floor damage, Lando would have never gotten away and he would have gotten re-overtaken. That's just not true. The data literally shows that Lando was the faster car all race. So
and I find this overall just funny because Max said that the car was fine after the collision. There was nothing wrong with the car. So, just kind of comes to show that even though these drivers have tremendous feel and can tell if a stop is 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
it still shows like they're not going to feel everything.
Yeah. And I think
And-
Max also, like, saying that also just shows how graceful he was in this defeat. I think that comes with his maturity over the past few years.
But also, like, I do agree with that. But the one thing that Max kind of really stated, like, I think it was in the post game on the ABC broadcast, which overall he was like, yeah, I mean, we win and lose. And I've
Mhm.
come so used to winning that getting second every once in a while and having other people beat me, it drives.
Saying like it's refreshing.
It's
kind of
refreshing,
thing.
but it's also
Yeah.
like it makes him want to win more.
Yeah.
In the fact of like, okay, you know, my dominant streak might not be as safe as it was, and especially
Of
with these
course.
next round of upgrades for McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull,
Yeah.
Imola is going to be a really, really fun track. So,
Haas is also going to be up there. They have a pretty big upgrade package coming that we'll talk about.
I mean, Haas could honestly be,
Sixth best car potentially.
but if Mercedes still has like such a downfall like they've had the past few weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if you get
Haas Mercedes fight for P5 in the constructors championship.
I'm genuinely saying that, dude. Like that's
There's
a
no way.
possibility.
There's
if
no
these
way.
cars just surprise us, but realistically, let's be real.
Yeah.
There was a new record that showed this Miami Grand Prix was the largest U.S. television audience for an F1 race, with an average of 3.1 million people tuning in on ABC. And I don't know. I think I find two things funny about this. Why would you say an average of people?
Yeah, because are they talking about like by watch time? Like
By
are
watch
people
time,
turning the broadcast
or-
off? Like what's a qualified view?
Or is it like multiple people watching at one place?
Yeah. Wait. What I'm also like interested about with this fact is, does this count like F1 TV subscribers? That
I
kind
don't
of
think
thing?
so, because
I
it
don't
specifically
watch
said
F1
that
on-
people turned in on ABC.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Because
this
I
is-
don't watch F1 on anything besides F1 TV.
And
Yeah.
I think that's why this one is A, largest US TV audience,
Mm-hmm.
B, also tuning in on ABC. And,
That's fair.
3.1 million people is not even 1/100th of our population. So,
Yeah, but 1/100th of our population is much more than zero.
yeah, no,
5 years ago.
brother. Yes, thank you for the great math lesson, Oliver. I had no idea.
My strong suit.
Yeah, thanks. Wednesday on the 8th, we remembered the life of Gilles Villeneuve.
Gilles.
Gilles, man.
You got
sorry.
it. You're getting there.
Gilles. I got the last name perfectly, so
Mhm.
I'm getting there. He was a legendary driver that started for McLaren and then finished his career over at Ferrari. So,
Notable driver. His son Jacques was a F1 world champion in 1997.
is he also still in WEC right now?
I don't think he's actually driving in WEC this year. Oh, that's so funny. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a little bit. I made a huge mistake.
Oliver, he didn't prank me. He just
I know. So with
did
Raven
some
and I,
poor,
obviously, we're gonna talk about MotoGP rally and WEC in a little bit. But when Raven and I were doing our prep and research for this week, I was trying to pull up the highlights for the 6 hours of Spa race, and it happened yesterday, and it's a really good race. I can't even lie. But I was trying to pull the highlights up just so I could, take some notes of the big stuff that happened. And I pulled the race up. We watched the whole thing, and I was so confused at the end because I knew who won the race, and who they were showing was not who won the race.
Oliver was like-
about 30 minutes to an hour later, I was like, oh shoot, I just put on the 2023 highlights. So
brother,
yeah, I don't know how I did that. That might have just come from being tired, but
probably.
it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was just funny to be like, actually,
Oh, so that's why I didn't see this.
that's why all this happened, and that's also why I said Jack Villeneuve still drives in
Yeah, he got
WEC,
taken out last year,
Which
in
was-
incredible fashion.
incredible fashion. But also, we Googled that he was 57 years old and was
53.
racing.
Yeah.
53. Sorry, my bad. Added 4 years. Red Bull revealed this week that they have yoinked over 220 people out of the Mercedes HPP engine program onto the Red Bull Powertrain program. 200 people is a lot.
But that also confuses me because I've been hearing Toto Wolff and Fred Vasseur say that they're having a lot of CVs come in from Red Bull employees to like leave Red Bull.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people, I think they're just kind of rotating, you know?
That's fair. I think that's fair. Maybe
Because I feel like the job pool of those people aren't that much, so you just kind of got to rotate.
they just rotate teams every couple of years.
It's like, Ferrari's not doing too great. Let's go to Mercedes, you know? Maybe I can get some legacy points or something.
I just build it up.
Literally. Horner even mentioned that he does not have any concern over the team's strength and depth. Now,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he's going to keep saying this thing that he's the ultimate creator of a team.
Ultimate creator.
You know,
that guy.
That he'll win without Christian.
Yeah, that guy might be the biggest narcissist in Formula One currently.
It's really crazy. I really don't understand it.
But hey, going into Imola now.
I was going to say, let's talk about the changes at Imola.
Our little pre-race week briefing of Imola. A lot changing, and I think a lot for the better as well.
It's just going to make it so much more overall, I don't want to say like exciting, but just more
demanding,
but also, dude.
I was going to say, I'm going to let you go over the changes.
No illegal overtakes now on a lot of these corners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want you to be able to go over the changes.
All right. So first we have at turn 9, the asphalt runoff has been removed, and this in turn that there's less room for error and overall more chances for spinouts like Alonso's near crash at China a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I was going to say turn 9, for those who don't know, is part of the famous Aqua Minerale section of corners. It's my favorite section of corners in the entire sport.
Isn't it the first technical turn going into Aqua Minerale? Because technically 11, 12, and 13 is Aqua Minerale.
Yeah, so it's that one technical turn coming up to it, and then you have 11, 12, 13.
It's amazing. So that's just going to be an exciting one because a lot of people are going to be trying to overtake going into Aqua Minerale, which is going to be even more difficult now because at turns 11, 12, and 13, the asphalt runoff was reduced again.
See, they say reduced. I almost feel that it is entirely removed. If you see the images...
Well, this one, because it was so big.
That's fair.
It was a massive runoff that was there last year, I remember.
Yeah, and it had the giant Italian flag on it.
And so they removed that and just now have a little bit of curb with some gravel behind it.
Yep. I was going to say, all this runoff is just being replaced by sand or gravel, which I really like. You need to bring back gravel traps.
It's just a really, really difficult corner, and there's going to be a lot of gravel on the track.
Yeah.
And I have this coming up after, we'll talk about turn 14 and 15 first, but they have gravel traps added that were replacing some of the old runoffs, and those weren't as big. They're really just like a small sand trap to stop the people from cutting that corner.
The 14-15 chicane is the most infamous place on the circuit where cutting the track works and is taken advantage of.
So that sand trap's just going to decimate that.
Yes, and the two curbs on those corners typically like to spear drivers off into the 15 what used to be the runoff in the wall. I mean, Yuki Tsunoda crashed there in qualifying in 2021. Charles Leclerc spun out in 2022 and hit the wall. I'm really, really interested to see how that actually works. Hopefully that reduces, I guess, the speed of the cars going into the wall because, you see so many crashes there or just incidents. So I think it's a good thing for, impacting the wall, but also a lot. I guarantee you're going to see drivers in that gravel trap this week.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I remember Alex went off there last year, Like, there's going to be at least one yellow flag just for gravel being on the track.
I'm not surprised.
And I genuinely think that there could be two, just if there's a lot of actual action in this race. So, but in theory, on the gravel could be said, and I'm going to be clipping that immediately.
Get David Croft, Alex Jakes, or Martin Brundle.
Someone's going to say on the gravel, and it's going to be the best thing that's going to happen to us because then I can just...
We've been waiting for this moment.
I can just have him say it every single time we open the show, and that sounds way better than us saying
I like the sound of that.
I do, too. We'll make an actual, actual song that I like.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Martin Brundle.
No, it's not. I wish we had a sponsor, but we're getting close. Overall, the month of May is one of the best racing months.
It is the best racing month of the entire year.
It really is. And I'm just going to give an overall haul for the rest of the month. This weekend, we had the MotoGP French Grand Prix. We had WEC, 6 hours of Spa, and we had Rally de Portugal this weekend, all of which that we will talk about later.
We also had Formula E Berlin
this
this weekend.
Formula E Berlin, that also happened this weekend. IndyCar also happened this weekend.
At the road course. That was a really good race.
Yes. Next week, obviously, we have Imola for F1, F2, and F3. So these next two races have F1, F2, and F3 all happening in the same weekend. That's always fun just to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Monaco and Imola are such famous tracks.
Exactly.
I get to watch Monaco for the first time because last year I
worked.
worked.
You didn't get to work last year.
That worked. So I'm very, very excited about that.
It's going to be good.
We have a funny moment.
It's going to be your last GP at your current place.
It is. That's sad.
Okay, I did not mean to make you feel like that, but Monaco's going to be very nice.
It will be fun. Formula E Shanghai is also that weekend of Monaco, the 24th and 26th. The Shanghai is actually 25th, 26th. IndyCar 500 is the 26th, and the MotoGP Barcelona ring is the 24th through 26th.
Just literally every weekend, you've got like 3-4 races in those different series going on every single week. It's so cool.
Much racing, so much to talk about. It'll be so much fun. I'm
already excited about this week.
Yeah, Imola is going to be amazing. Oh, I'm so excited. FIA has announced that they have let go, or she's leaving. Natalie Robin, the first CEO of the FIA, is leaving the role after just 18 months of working there, according to Adam Cooper.
I wonder why.
I mean, brother, have you seen anything good about the FIA in the last 18 months?
No, I'm not a fan of the FIA.
Thanks, brother. I'm not either. So let's give it I mean, I don't want to applaud her leaving. That sounds mean.
This is all Michael Massey's fault. Bring that guy back, please.
But the last two pieces of news that we have before going over into
all of our race recaps.
Yeah. Charles' race engineer is no longer going to be Xavi Marcos, and instead is going to be replaced by Brian Bozzi?
I don't know.
These Italian names are hard, man.
Xavi has been like a meme in Formula One since Charles Leclerc joined Ferrari in 2019. We are checking. Like, it's so sad because I think Xavi has gotten way more heat than he actually should have. Like, every single time Ferrari makes a bad decision with Leclerc, everyone blames Xavi, but it's not just his fault. It's just like, that's Pete Bonington screaming to Lewis at the 2019 German GP.
No, I just find that one so funny.
But I do love that one. But like, you know, where like my big one that pained me with him was Monaco in 2022 in that rain-affected race where they decided to double stack the Ferraris for some reason, and it put Charles down from P1 to P4, and Charles was, you know, infamously screaming, dropping F-bombs while he was in the pit lane, and everyone blamed Xavi for that, but like, it's a whole team effort. And I am gonna miss the dude. That I love that guy's voice, and it makes what he says so much more funny. But I think him and Charles have like a really good relationship off track, so I don't think it's gonna be the last time you see him or hear from him. But I'm definitely interested to see how Charles works with this new race engineer. You know, if he's gonna change his approach to conversating with his race engineer. You know, if maybe he'll pick up a Carlos Sainz trait and be a little bit more aggressive and, you know, butt his head out more since, I don't know, maybe he's trying to assert dominance or something like that. I don't really know. But I'm very interested to see because, you know, changing race engineers is a lot bigger of a thing than you really think it is. You know, switching teams, you typically don't get to bring your race engineer with you. So I think he'll mold pretty well. So I'm not too worried.
Yeah. I mean, kind of going off your water point from Monaco in 2022.
Yeah.
Spray guards has been a talking point this week, and
It looks really weird.
they look weird, but they also don't look like they're doing anything. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw the actual pictures, and I'll see if I can actually pull one up real quick.
Yeah, so they were testing this week with Carlos Sainz and Ollie Behrman at Fiorano, Ferrari's like private racetrack that they do all their testing on, of new spray guards that are supposed to go over the wheels, and they're essentially attached to the wheels. So, when you're changing tires, the spray guards are attached to the wheel. They'll come off just like they're a tire cover, but they give me the vibe of, like a rolling desk with the little guards that they have on the floor, the rolling desk.
Yeah, here I got an image of them.
Yeah, they're meant to reduce the spray that's coming off of the wet tires. It's like what I feel like they're trying to do is, since they really don't use the wet tires anymore, they'll red flag any race that full wet tires would be used in. And I think the spray is the biggest issue with that. So they've been testing these out, a couple different iterations of them this past week to lessen the spray on the drivers behind. But there's a lot of images that have come out where you'll have one of the cars running just the wet tires, and then you'll have a car running the wet tires with the spray guards.
I have that image pulled up right now.
And the spray looks exactly the same.
The only difference that I see, and if you want to put your mic down and come over here real quick, and also just take off your headset and we can talk into the same mic, but it's really weird because the only difference I genuinely see is right here where my mouse is like the part where it's forced down does look like the water is pushing. It looks like the spray guards are pushing water down, but there's still plenty of water coming up behind them where visibility isn't going to be an issue. This is the car that...
It's also interesting to me because, like, even with it, pushing the water down, it's going further outwards as well. See, like, if you look at the just the wet tires, they're not pushing water to the sides. Yeah. So I'm wondering, with these spray guards, how much water is actually coming off the back of the car? Like, not how high it is, like how far back the water actually goes.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, in theory, this is only going to work so well. It kind of sucks just because water racing has kind of disappeared. Rain racing, if you want to say.
Actual true wet weather racing.
Yeah, it's not the same. And I, as a fan, have never seen it happen for me. Every single time there's rain, they usually just cancel it. So, I don't know. It's one of those things that kind of gets just very, very strange. I don't know.
And a lot of people have also been talking about how awful they look, which I agree with.
They're just weird covers.
But it's, what I'll say is it's the same argument as the Halo. And nobody liked how the Halo looked. But if it makes it so that we can race in the rain, like true heavy rain again, I don't care what it looks like. It could be bananas on the side of the car. I don't care. If I can race in the wet again, I'm a happy, happy man.
That's all of the news from us this week. I mean, I guess there was some Penske news, but that's kind of already happened, didn't it?
Yeah, it already happened.
Genuinely kind of old news, but we'll start off
with rally.
With rally, yeah. So we had an eventful Portugal rally today.
There were so many incidents.
Yes. Day 3 was very, very eventful overall. I'm struggling to say words right now.
You're all good.
Sebastian Ogier takes the win over Otetanek by only 7.9 seconds over the weekend, which we've talked about. That's, under 2 seconds every single day.
The crazy stat that I heard, I mean, obviously I didn't watch it live. I got all the highlights and articles and stuff. The crazy stat that I heard was that the top 4 were separated by 4 seconds going into day 3. Like, that is insane.
That's very impressive. And, a lot of them had some crashes, a few retirements going into day 3.
Yeah.
Copiella was one of them that retired. He flipped his car. But Otanic is one of the people that kind of had, in theory, the chance to win. He had a flat on Saturday that costed him only 20 seconds. And, if you means that he doesn't have that flat, he doesn't spin out one time.
Yeah, 20. I mean, losing by 8 seconds, but having lost 20 seconds to a flat, that flat literally cost him the race.
Yeah, it's a very interesting just dynamic overall, especially with
because with all these small incidents, you don't really get the general scope of how they affect you until the very end of the race weekend.
Yeah, and that's the thing is Thierry Neuville, he spun his car twice, and he said he finished day 3 without a front end.
Yeah,
you won't see that in F1 because you can just go box and pit. No, day 3
I heard they had one dude had had to get out and change his wheel midway through the course.
That's normal.
Which I know, it's just it's so surprising to me. And then that other big incident with the spin off on the straightaway and just smacking into that tree, that was crazy.
It's a dangerous sport, and overall, sticking with Neuville for a second, he finished in 3rd. After Otanic came in 2nd, and Elfie Evans received 1.5 minutes of penalties, which I find I didn't know. I
think he's still placed in the top 5, if I'm right, or was it P7?
I mean P7, but I think there's only 7 people that finished in Rally Car 1. So Neuville still leads the championship ahead of Evans by 6 points with 86 to 80. Everyone else is kind of lacking behind by, I believe 30 was the next closest person.
Yeah. I know P1 and P2 were separated by under 10 seconds. That I know for sure.
Yeah, it was 7.9.
Yeah.
Nicolo Grazin wins the WRC 2 portion of Portugal as well, so congrats to him. Let's go over to some WEC news, shall we?
WEC, baby. Yeah, so I was really excited for this, especially after the absolute cracker that Imola was a couple weeks back. And I don't think Belgium disappointed. I got really excited when I watched the highlights, seeing all of this action, realizing it was the race from last year. Don't know how I forgot about that.
Dummy.
But no, the practice went pretty well. And then in qualifying, hyper pole for the hypercar class was originally taken by the number 50 Ferrari AF course. However, they were later demoted to the back of the grid after the car was found to be underweight. This is something that happens in every sport. I mean, it's happened with, Mercedes and F1, all that kind of stuff.
Mercedes.
Yeah, what could have been. But this promoted the number 5 Porsche Penske Motorsport car to pole with a time of 2 minutes, 3 seconds, 0.107. And then hyperpole for the LM GT3 class was taken by the number 85 Iron Dames car, which was their first pole in the LM GT3 era. So congrats to them. Pole position was also taken by a woman, which I thought was really awesome, especially, with all we want with getting women into motorsport. I think that was really cool. But it wasn't a super, majorly eventful race. There was still a lot that happened, but the race for me, the race I saw on social media, all that kind of stuff that I was talking to people about, was on the Kemmel Straight about 4 hours into the race. You had the number 2 Cadillac that was chasing the Porsche ahead down the Kemmel Straight, and you had GT3 cars that, he was trying to get around. And there was a massive, huge collision on the Kemmel Straight. So the number 2 Cadillac collided with the number 46 Team WRT car of LMGT3, ending both of their races immediately, and bringing out a multiple hour-long red flag period. But through the stewards, through social media, fault definitely seems to be placed on the Cadillac, with viewers and stewards, believing that Earl Bamber, the one in the car in the Cadillac, he was a bit too antsy and aggressive with trying to get around the GT3 cars. So he tried cutting across to get past one of them and kind of tagged the front left of his car, and that ended up twisting him, throwing him into the right wall on the Kemmel Straight. I'm surprised the WRT actually retired, because it didn't look like they got that much damage. The Cadillac was literally flying in the air, so I'm not surprised they were out. But it just sucks to have somebody from a different class ruin your race like that. That was also just such a scary crash, and I'm really happy that WEC wasn't also showing that until they really realized that the drivers were okay.
That was the one thing that even the commentators were like, I don't know if we're going to see a replay of this until we get the
Confirmation.
A-OK that the driver is unhurt.
Yeah.
And
so I was very happy with how they went about doing that.
Yeah.
But like that crash was shocking, dude, because it also just blows my mind with how safety has advanced in this day and age, where you can have a shunt like that. Your car can be 10 feet in the air. You've hit the wall 5 times and you just get out and walk away like nothing happened.
I mean, just the design of these cars. And like, you know, we've talked a lot about some of the safety features, those,
especially in a closed cockpit too.
Yeah. And that's a huge difference with F1 and WEC is, the closed cockpit. So you get, like roll cages and reinforced
I was
areas.
Gonna say I feel like you're definitely more protected in those hypercars.
Absolutely. And I mean, those cars are still designed with safety being one of the main key factors on it. I mean, that's why you don't get super, super strong cars that are breaking people's ribs. Like, I forget which car it was. I feel like it was a Porsche of some sort. It might have been a Mercedes, but it was like 90s, I feel like. And the car was so strong that the driver heard cracks in his ribs.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And, you just don't hear that because these cars are so safe.
I was going to say, just seeing the advancement in safety in all of these discretions of motorsport is really cool. I like it a lot.
I think the adaptation of a 5-point harness on the neck.
Yeah. You're saying the thing that they connect the helmet to, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The harness guard that keeps the back of the neck from either hitting the back, racing part
or your head
part of the seat
spearing forward.
Or your head spearing forward and hitting the wheel. So,
yeah.
I mean, in closed cockpits too, it's like you are going to have better harnesses. You're going to have even more like framing around your body in the car too. So, I mean, those cars are essentially indestructible in a certain area.
Yeah, you have your like crash and safety structures, or I think in the F1 car it's called like the safety cell.
Yeah,
which is that like direct center part where the driver's sitting that can withstand more force than any of the rest of a car of the car, which is like why Roman Grosjean survived Bahrain 2020. But not to go on a tangent about that, but yeah, they ended up spending a long time removing all this debris in the cars from the track. But the race, it resumed, and it was kind of business as usual. Nothing major happened for the rest of the race. But the number 12 Hertz Team Jota car took their first win, the hypercar era, as a customer team, which was really awesome for them. And then the number 91 Manthey EMA car took victory in the LMGT3 class. But I was really happy for Hertz Team Jota just because one of their drivers is Callum Ilott, and I was a big fan of watching him in Formula 2, like battling toe-to-toe with Mick Schumacher for the championship in the 2020 season. And I personally thought he was very deserving of an F1 seat at that point, and unfortunately the room wasn't open there for him to make it in. So he kind of did a little bit of IndyCar.
Continue your point, but that just reminded me of something to talk about.
And then obviously now races endurance cars. So to see him doing well, I'm really happy about.
So that totally just reminded me of something that K-Mag just told the media about the Haas seat next year.
Oh my goodness. We literally saw this morning.
Say, I know you saw this morning because I sent it to you, but the question came to K-Mag where, how would you feel if Oliver Behrman came into the seat as your teammate? And K-Mag's response, quote for quote, was, "I'm not here to babysit or teach someone how to grow in this sport. I am here to have a teammate that is like comparable and talented and knows what he's doing. So if they bring Behrman, I can't guarantee that I'll be here." Which is shocking to say.
I did not hear that part.
Throwing your life away for the team. Not throwing your life away in the quote of like throwing your life
but also
away.
But K-Mag was teammates with Mick Schumacher. like 2 years ago.
But that was 2 years ago. And I don't think I think that was a part of the role. And I think that ultimately kind of drove him away.
Okay.
But now, he's a little older. He's been teammates with Nico for
A year and a half now.
Yeah. Year and a half. And, they've had their beef, but
Hungary 2017. Yep.
I just find it so fascinating that he's this adamant about not wanting to
mentor
I guess. Someone. And
I don't know. Well, I feel like here's the thing.
But now what do you do as Haas?
Dude, I'm sorry. I get the young talent in.
Yeah, but both for 2 seats? You've already tried that fast. It didn't work out too great.
Well, they also threw those 2 rookies into a car that they did not change at all from their 2020 car. So I don't think that's quite fair.
That's true.
I can't believe I'm defending Nikita Mazepin there, but
Nikita Mazepin. Get it right,
real.
brother.
We'll talk about it later. But I think here's the problem. I think why Kevin wants an older and more experienced teammate is I think it suits his racing style for the team better.
Yes.
Like, he can't have a defensive drive like he had in Miami and expect Ollie Behrman to hold on to his position as well as Nico Hülkenberg can. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like, I think Kevin might honestly be okay with not scoring points if it means he's sacrificing himself so his teammate can. He would be, Kevin Magnussen would be expected to be the number 1 driver at that team, qualifying well, getting a big share of the points while mentoring Ollie. And I don't think he would be a fan of doing that. I kind of understand where he's coming from. I just think the way in which it was explained by him was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where my head's at with it.
He's Dutch, so no, he's not Dutch. He's
Danish.
Danish. The other D1.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. A little last piece of news about 6 hours of Spa, but both the Peugeot. I'm so bad with these names sometimes.
That's okay.
Both of the Peugeot drivers were participating in Formula E. 2 of the drivers of both teams. So both of the 2 cars that competed in Spa only had 2 drivers. So they did 2 3-hour stints instead.
Hey, it's okay. It's prepping them for Le Mans.
It is.
I think
genuinely that's a good kind of mentality to have about it. So, but I just found that really interesting. That
I know, just not to have that extra person in case something happens with your other driver.
Isn't Theo Pourchaire now doing something?
Teo's in IndyCar now.
Yeah, but didn't he sign to compete in WEC?
I don't know. All I know is he signed with Arrow McLaren to race full time in IndyCar. But
all right, you stall for a second.
Yeah, but no, with the 2 drivers in the hypercars, I think it's really important for Le Mans practice, just because in Le Mans you're going to have 24 hours that have to be split up between 8 drivers. No driver can do more than 14 hours, which requires every driver to do at least 5. So I think 2 3-hour stints in a 6-hour race is very important practice for Le Mans.
The last piece of news I wanted to bring up real quick is that it's being reported that the Mercedes pairing for 2025 could change again, as George Russell
I did hear about
was
this.
given a 1+1 contract. So Russell has the chance to leave Mercedes and put the
absolutely destroy the team.
Which I don't think
he
does.
Yeah, he wants to be the number 1 driver.
Yeah, he wants to be the number 1 driver. I think also, now that Lewis is leaving, he's kind of earned it in the sense of he's been driving.
Yeah, he's been
decent.
giving it.
He's been giving it.
Carlos Sainz could still come in, man.
Carlos Sainz could.
Dude, and I would make Carlos Sainz the number 1 driver from day 1.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go to MotoGP and then we'll wrap up. Just because.
Actually, I'll slide into IndyCar really quick.
Okay.
I didn't watch the IndyCar race at all this week. Just there's too much to do.
There's so much.
But they raced at the Indianapolis Road Course this week, which was last raced in Formula One in 2007. I think it's one of the best tracks in the United States of America. I would love to see F1 go back to this course today. But it was a pretty good race. It was a wild start. that I saw where it was like a bus stop chicane. Shout out Belgium for that, the bus stop chicane. But into the first chicane at the road course where you had like 8 cars go off in the first corner. It was unbelievable. Nobody crashed and like went out, but you just had people spearing off the side trying to avoid everybody going so slowly. And then I thought like my moment of the race, which I thought was really cool, was Colton Herta, obviously been associated with F1 before, super good American driver. Had a pretty bad qualified P24, but ended up working his way back up through the field throughout the race to finish P7. So I was pretty impressed with that. That kid is still making a name for himself. I mean, he's IndyCar's youngest race winner of all time. So I'm not surprised. But it was a decent race. So I was super happy about that. And I thought what was cool also was just how the former Formula 2 drivers in the past few years did in that race compared to all other races in IndyCar, specifically like Christian Lundgaard and I can't remember the other guy's name. I mean, Teo Porcher was kind of nowhere, but that's because, it's his second week. But yeah, you had your ex-F2 drivers from like 3-4 years ago do really well on this like true racing course, that's not a street, that's on an oval. It shows where their strengths really lie. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh, yeah. Moving on to the MotoGP of France, we had an exciting race. It was also a sprint weekend, so you get a little bit more bike racing. After the race, only 0.6 seconds decided the winner of the race.
Yeah,
All
3
of the
cars split by 0.6.
bikes.
But sorry, cars. 3 bikes split by 0.6 seconds.
Which is actually very, very impressive. I mean, overall, that's...
like 3 eye blinks.
Yes. That's insane to me. It was a full Ducati podium, which I found funny because most of the time it is.
Full Ducati podium at the Bugatti circuit. If you don't know, the Bugatti circuit is the little mini circuit inside of Le Mans.
Mm-hmm. That's where this race took place. Martin was in first, Marquez in second, and Bagnaia in third. The sprint, the first 2 came in the same positions respectively, and Vinales for Aprilia Racing came in third. These names.
Man. No, Vinales. You said it right.
Vinales. Okay, hell yeah, major win for me.
He was the one who took pole at the last race,
and I don't know. I mean, Martin's winning.
Unfortunately, we didn't actually get to watch the race, given it was so early this morning.
It was 7 a.m.
They still haven't even released the highlights of this race yet, so we really haven't had
chance to watch
a true time to watch the actual race.
We only got to read a lot of the stuff that happened and see a few pictures.
So I was going to say, I'm sorry for the lack of information on MotoGP this week. But I mean, it's month of May. We're missing a race every single day if you blink.
You're really right on that. And I actually want to shout out one of my boys. He's been working on the Formula Drift, and Formula Drift Atlanta just happened this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He is doing some sort of internship there. I talked to him a little bit about it, but their team came in second for Formula Drift. So congrats to them. Just shout out to my boy Bari out there in Atlanta. He's doing
congrats, brother.
So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for us this week on the gravel. It's also Mother's Day, so happy
Mother's Day, Mom. I love you.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Happy Mother's Day, Oliver's mom.
Happy Mother's Day, Raven's mom.
And happy Mother's Day to all of the listeners' moms, because we appreciate all of you like always. We got Good Morning Hockey coming out all this week. Stanley Cup playoffs are happening right now, so it's going to be an exciting one to talk about. Also, we have next week, the same day that our show drops next week, we will have a
brand
new
new
show with our boy Brandon Tegetoff and his buddies. It is called Listen for Commands, not Listen to Commands, as I said last week. It's a really good show. They're going to be talking a lot about just weightlifting, powerlifting, overall fitness, and it's a really cool dichotomy that they have, because all 3 of them are on a team together, but one of them's a coach, one of them is the coach is I don't know, coachee, and then one of them's a teammate.
Okay,
which
yeah,
is
the
Brendan.
lifter.
So it's really cool. That's going to be coming out. I've seen a lot of sneak peeks of their videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. Really excited for that. But we will be back next week with the return of Imola. Like always, wherever you find your podcast, please rate 5 stars, like, subscribe.
Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. You know where to find us.
Oliver, you get a point where the YouTube video and stuff is because it's going to be on your face.
YouTube video right here.
Okay.
Previous episode right there.
That's
Subscribe on this side of my face.
Sounds good. I got some work.
Bang.
I got some work to do for me. But that's going to be it for us today, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will catch you all next week.
Peace out, y'all.